Hello.
And welcome.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of
The Super Data Brothers Super Data Show.
That's right. I am Ryan.
And I am Eric.
And we are real-life brothers who work in the data and analytics industry. And boy, do we have a cool show for you today.
I think we do. You know, Ryan, I'm so excited for today's show because, well, one, just let everyone know we're kind of testing a new format. Before we would have a single topic and we try to stretch it the whole time. Today we're going to try to have a few smaller topics and then move on to maybe our larger topic more towards the end. And also, we have a special guest, Mico, this week, who is a super huge, super popular data influencer. You've all heard of her, and we're so happy to have her on the show.
That's right.
And she's going to be talking about like data influencing and how to become a data influencer.
Yep. So let's why don't we, as we're watching, you know, this is a live show. So what does that mean? It means it's more fun for you and for us if you get your live reactions, questions, and comments into the chat. So go ahead and get them in there and let us know if you're watching right now where you're watching from, so we can give you a shout out. And without further ado, let's go ahead and welcome Mico to the stream.
Yay! Hello!
Hello! So good to see you.
Hello! I'm excited. I'm between two brothers that look alike. I mean, what more could a girl want?
That's right. You know, it's so funny. Sometimes people say we look like twins, and then other times they'll be like, "Oh, you guys don't look anything alike."
No, you guys remember, Ryan? I met you with the long hair era during the pandemic, and like I saw your brother, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this thing! Like he looks like Jesus Christ, right?" I mean, let's just put it out there.
I have that air about me.
That's right.
Let's just put it out there. So I think it's super cool. Thank you guys for having me. I'm beyond excited.
Yeah.
To be on here before the big July 4th.
That's right. Yeah, big summer holiday kicking off next week. I am looking forward to it. So Mico, why don't you give everybody a little introduction to who you are and what you're all about?
Yeah, it's so funny because you said data influencer and I kind of cringe. I was like, guys, I don't sell protein shakes, but anyways, I am not appropriate. Let's just put it out there. So without boring people, a little bit of a background, without aging myself, is started in the field probably about 12 years ago. I came up in the Excelsius business objects SAP world. So in the enterprise world, got a little bit tired of deals taking 2 years to close. Then started my own gig, did that for a few years, consulting and training. To date, I've trained over about 20,000 people now, data professionals on storytelling and data viz. Been written up in a number of books, been all over online. I've keynoted at Facebook, Google, MIT, Harvard. I mean, I've had a really good time. And so where I'm at right now is I'm focused on kind of what's next. I dumped into the startup world, as you know, in the last year post-pandemic, which is where I met Ryan. I met you at Count.
Yep.
And so, yeah, it's been a ride. Like I think I'm on a wave. I just kind of ran from sorry from, enterprise, that I kind of ran.
Yeah, no, Mico and I have a similar background in as far as like we're kind of OG enterprise BI people, who tried to expand beyond that.
Hey, I'm still holding down the enterprise fort here. So.
That's right.
Right.
Cool. So so why don't we jump into to today's topics? We got a couple topics teed up, and then we're just going to freestyle after that.
All right, let's rock and roll.
Let's bring this on. There you go. So the first topic to talk about today, the mode acquisition.
Yeah.
I did not see this one coming. I don't know, Mico, if you did.
Not ThoughtSpot. I saw
Right.
an acquisition. Okay, so between us, I thought it'd been Snowflake.
Yeah. I mean,
I
I
call it,
that's what
yeah.
I expected too, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
someone who was
Yeah.
looking to flesh out the stack that, like,
Analytics.
broaden beyond their slice of the stack and get more into the analytics BI piece. That's I expected something like that too. And so for those of you who don't know, just kind of a rundown, right? I call Mode is like the OG modern data stack BI darling. When I think
Correct.
of the modern data stack, the BI tool, there are many BI tools now in the modern data stack, but I think of Mode as kind of the
Yeah.
first one, right? Um,
Correct.
versus ThoughtSpot is the OG natural language query darling. And
Mhm.
so ThoughtSpot acquired Mode. That was announced on Tuesday for 200 million in a cash and stock deal.
Yep.
And I'm curious what you think of this acquisition, Mico, because you know
Mm.
me when I first heard about it, it didn't make a ton of sense to me, right? Like ThoughtSpot's whole thing
Correct.
is focused on natural language query, right? Not having a point and click interface to build BI, but rather being able to build it conversationally. Whereas Mode, I think, has a really nice, modern, clean point and click BI interface. And so, what do you think of this overall?
Yeah, like I said, I admittedly, and by the way, congrats to Ben, Derek, and Josh. I don't know Derek and Josh, but I've interacted with Ben a few times because I was getting them on the podcast. So just want to say congrats to those guys. And so the first thing is that I agree with you. Again, I'll be honest. So I don't know if you know this, but I called the Tableau Salesforce acquisition. I don't know if you
Mm,
know about that. And I called the Looker one about 6 years ahead. I don't know if you know about that whole thing. Somebody like
yeah.
pulled up the tweet and said this age well. So this one, about 3 or 4 years ago, I kind of thought Snowflake would make an analytics acquisition. And as MDS kind of prevailed and really bloomed during the pandemic, I saw Mode as kind of like a natural fit, right? That Snowflake might want to go analytics and bring it out. So this did kind of catch me off guard, only because I thought that ThoughtSpot already has a decent analytics story.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like with this play, I don't know if it's technology more than it is customer base. I was just reading some of the stuff here, and Mode claim at one point that their customer base covered more than 50% of the Fortune 500.
Right.
So I question, is ThoughtSpot really buying technology and a team, or are they buying? I think it's a customer base acquisition.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also wonder, and I will preface this statement with, like, I have no insider information or anything like that, but part of me wonders too, um, if it was just like the timing made Mode a good deal, right? Because
Yeah,
of
I was going to bring that up as well.
you know,
Okay, so let's take a step back then, and then talk about what's happening in the field. A reckoning is coming in data.
yeah.
Okay, there's a few. Let's take the elephant in the room, right? And
Yeah.
by the way, hey Scott, Scott's like go Miko, Scott's awesome. Data whisperer. Okay, so the elephant in the room, right? And we've lived. I don't know, Eric, how old you are, but me and Ryan have lived a few cycles, right? He came from IBM. Is that
Well,
this pandemic we had a good run, right? Everybody's eyes were on the screen, and I mean MDS and all these things, stuff you're gonna talk about later on the show, open source, all these stuff kind of like bloomed up, right? Where we are today is we got a few problems. One is the pandemic is over. Two is the economy. Let's talk about it. They're going to hold it stiff until the election, and then the bottom might drop out, right? Let's just be honest.
right.
Number three is AI is become the new oil officially. So AI is just, I mean, how many me and you were exchanging back and forth, Ryan? I don't know, Eric, if you saw it, right? IBM's made acquisitions. I think it's Deloitte just pumped 100 million. I have friends at
Dang.
Snowflake Summit this week that are like, AI is flexing. Like everybody's an AI expert right now at Snowflake,
Yep.
right? And so with AI coming in, where does that leave data? So I personally think, because even in what I'm reading here, Mode said they got their revenue to 100 and what is it? 150 million, sorry, to more their ARR to 150 million. Well, when you look at that, the 200 doesn't seem as
Doesn't make
exciting.
sense.
So
Yeah.
it's almost like, it kind of reminds me of that one company. And oh God, I hope I don't get shot for saying that. Holy shit. You want me to be honest, or what? What do you
Yes.
want? What
No.
do you want on here?
Let's get the real shit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. So you guys remember that lady that had that data company in the valley? Smart Indian lady, Data. She went down in flames. Crap, why can't I
Oh,
remember? You know it. Data,
yeah.
you know it. And she
Yes.
went, right? And we
Yes.
thought she was gonna do good things, and then she went down in flames for like 40 million. Like it was a
Yes.
bad, and she got all this money. You remember that, right?
Hmm.
With mode, it feels kind of fast sailish. You know, it
Yeah.
just feels like they got a foreclosure.
It does kind of feel that way, and it makes me wonder too, like you said, there's a reckoning coming. Maybe this is the tip of
Right.
the consolidation spear, and who else is going to get sucked up at this point, right? Like
First domino. Well, no one wants to become MicroStrategy,
right.
right? The next
Right.
the next thing you're gonna do is see crypto investments, or like no one wants to become MicroStrategy, right?
Right. Right.
Like
I mean,
that was the first reckoning.
that's true, right? And right, and MicroStrategy was the one left out. Yeah,
Right.
that's exactly what happened. Cognos got sucked up, Business Objects
Yeah.
got sucked up, Sybase got sucked up. Like just, I can't
Yeah.
remember the name of the company that was TM1.
No, there
Um,
was there was PeopleSoft got sucked up,
yeah,
Business Objects got sucked up. Remember, it happened like back to back. I was
yeah.
working in New York at a time, and it was like boom, 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 boom.
Hmm.
Then I was like, MicroStrategy,
Cricket, cricket, cricket.
Just chilling on their own,
right?
I guess.
Chilling on their own. And guess what? Now they're a crypto player. So nobody wants to become the MicroStrategy of the world, right? So I
Right.
think we're gonna see some reckoning. I think VCs as well are gonna start to want to see some returns. I think
Yeah.
money's gonna get tight in terms of investments. Runways are gonna get shorter. And I
Right.
think between folding, there's gonna be a lot of selling of customer base, selling of the team, and selling the technology. And I think also if you don't have AI, you're first on the list.
100%. I mean, and that's part of what, like, when I saw this, it's like, oh, that was one of the things I wondered, and I think kind of helps lead us into Eric's large
Yeah.
language minute update here is like the AI story. And if you're a BI tool that doesn't have an obvious quick pivot to an AI story,
Yeah.
and you're venture funded, I just wonder if the VCs are just going to pull the plug at this point and say, look, we just want to get our money out of this thing and we want to reposition it to an AI story.
AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you don't have AI by the end of 2023, you're
Yeah.
in foreclosure mode. Like I think the domino is gonna drop, right?
It's
So
crazy.
if you're still playing with ChatGPT integration in June, I literally think you're gonna be in foreclosure mode by December.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you, like, it's I'm having conversations with prospects as part of my role as VP of product strategy at Good Data, and
AI.
it comes up in every single conversation.
Yeah.
Every single conversation. Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of AI, Eric.
Speaking of AI, yeah, I just want to throw in, it's like talking about the hype. It's like the AI hype. It feels like the
Yeah.
blockchain hype, except it's true this time.
Except it's true.
Right.
It's like, except that this really feels like it's going to pan out.
Yeah.
So here
Right.
I'm going to make a short little argument here that we're talking about large language models, ChatGPT. My argument is that open source is going to win, and
Yeah.
feel free to disagree in the comments or in this show if you think I'm wrong about this, or if you want to pipe in and add something, feel free to go ahead.
Eric, I think
yeah.
it's gonna win for the same reasons that TikTok is winning in social media. I'm just gonna throw that out there. But go ahead.
Yeah, for the same reasons. What? That it's just everyone has access to it.
TikTok
Or-
is the wild, wild west, and it's a different
anything
generation.
goes. Yeah.
Anything goes, and I think open source is just like paralleling the two, right? I think
Mhm.
it's gonna win the same way in terms of like freedom, a slightly different generation, millennial and younger, wanting to do
Mhm.
more. Also, they want community, and open source has such strong communities natively to even survive.
It's
Yeah.
true.
You know what I mean? And I think
Yeah.
that hosting community is gonna, it's a different generation. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm excited about this.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I think don't take our word for it. I think Google agrees with us. You may have heard about the "we have no moat" and neither
Yeah.
does OpenAI leaked document from May, right? So basically, the story of this, and this is what they say in this document. I've got a link at the bottom, or you can just Google it. You'll find it. Is that the open source community? It's a little murky, but they obtained Llama, right? Meaning it got leaked, right? Or at least I think the weights got leaked. Something I'm not sure of the specifics, but so now basically all open source LLMs are based on Llama, right? The subreddit's Llama, everything's Llama. Like you were saying, Mico, the entire community is Llama, right? Rapidly evolving. It can run on better on simpler and simpler hardware. They keep on quantizing it to 4 bits and all this complicated stuff I don't totally understand. In some cases, many cases, matches or beats GPT 3.5, right?
Yeah.
The first one we saw that wowed everyone, right? And
Yeah.
it's running on consumer hardware,
Now let me ask you this, Eric. I don't know
Sure.
if you know this, Mico, but we actually fed our show transcripts into a large language model and created something called Super Data Bot that you
Oh,
can
yeah.
I love it.
you can ask
Uh-huh.
questions and it will give you our opinions on what you
Oh
should
yeah,
do in
yeah.
the
All the
database
Ryan's blog
love
posts and
it.
all the transcripts from our shows get put into it,
into
running
Super
Love
locally
it.
on my
Databot.
machine.
Now, is Super
Yeah,
I love
Databot
it.
running on Llama?
yeah. It's running on. I've set it up. This is how shows how fast I set it up like maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and like
Yeah.
I set it up on Vicuna 13B. There's a better one out now. Like
Right.
if I reset it up, I set it up with a better model.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's running at Vicuna 13B, and yeah, it's running on Llama. Everything's running on Llama
Everything's Llama. Okay.
for now. I'll talk about that a little bit later, but for now, everything's running on Llama, right?
But this is
Yeah.
really, like you said, Mico, the open source story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think this is, I mean, just this is the future. I think it's been around for a while. I think it's going to take front and center again. I'll keep paralleling it to why TikTok succeeded. Is the same reason why I think open source is going to work.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just showing my point that like GPT-4. This is from a Hugging Face site, that LLM leaderboard. You can Google it. GPT-4 on lots of metrics is winning,
Yeah.
but some of these open source ones are like beating GPT 3.5 in some metrics.
Yeah.
There are complicated ways that they measure stuff. It's not an exact science, but like I've used it. It can get pretty decent results. Not GPT-4 results. I don't think anything matches that yet, but it's
Okay.
gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Yep, I agree
Yep.
100%. It's interesting because when you talk about open source, you kind of have companies. Another guy, if you guys talking about raising money, companies like Acral Data, so they
Mhm.
own a Slack group, Data Hub. They started in 2021. They have 8,000 and counting Slack group members,
Yeah.
and they're open source for metadata. Like you know what I mean? Like this is the future. Like I said, strong community because it's open source. You have to depend on the community. So I just think open source is the future. I think, my understanding is they have really big customers as well, right? They have
Mhm.
Etsy and they're Netflix, and so
Oh,
it's
yeah.
no longer. It used to be taboo, right? So the open when you have the open source discussion, it was like, well, maybe Ryan, that's just because Ryan and Eric, we come from enterprise. I remember those discussions. What about
Oh, yeah.
security? Where are we gonna find resources?
People can see all the stuff. They can.
Who's
Right.
gonna manage it?
Right.
What about the code?
We need to
Right?
keep all of
Like,
our obvious security flaws secret.
Correct.
Fool's errand.
right. So so I think just like coming from enterprise, it was very taboo, and
Mhm.
now it's not anymore, right? It's
yeah.
kind of like, yeah, we bring it in, we integrate it just like we would a SaaS tool. And I think what's even more exciting is the fact that open source, a lot of the companies, obviously, especially the ones that are VC backed, they're also creating a SaaS offering as well,
Mhm.
right? So
Yes.
it's really evolved, like okay, I'm gonna age myself. Oh my gosh. You guys remember Pentaho? Oh
Yeah.
gosh.
Yes.
Did I just age my
I don't. Oh.
Yes. I
Okay,
remember
Eric's the
Pentaho.
baby. All right, Ryan, what age are we? But you remember
Uh-huh.
how Pentaho, I remember Pentaho, right? So just a quick story people appreciate. So Pentaho was like the kind of like data viz tool. I remember hearing about it, right? I was more in the like enterprise tools. And I remember like I would discard it, right? I'm like, well, why do you want open source data viz? One day I met a Pentaho like developer. Dude was clocking 325 an hour because of a lack of resources.
Right.
I never looked at open source that way again. I met him in New York. We were talking. He was kind of chilling. He told me he had taken 4 months off. And I'm like, damn, what kind of life is this? So he
Yeah.
kind of I was like, but open source, how do you get work? Like, he's like, oh, work's great. I'm like, really? So we got to like the elephant of like, I was like, 325 an hour? What? He's like, yeah, we don't have enough resources. Enterprise is afraid. So the customers who
Mhm.
adopt it,
Yeah.
don't sleep on open source, guys. I'm trying to tell you, don't sleep
Yeah.
on open source.
It's
Yep.
funny you mentioned Acral. I was recently asked, I can't say which one, but one of the major industry analysts was trying to come up with asked us because good data. One of our things is our whole BI platform is like open and declarative API based, right?
Right.
And so we had someone ask us like one of the big analysts ask us like, okay, who are the other we do analytics as code BI. They were like, who are the other analytics as code vendors? So you think of like, classic example would be like your Informatica is your oldest of old school, visual based ETL vendor, whereas DBT, does the code based transformation, right? And I actually
Right.
included Acral on the list of responses that I gave them for like, this is a much more modern software engineering focused data catalog tool, as kind of like a new, end-to-end data pipeline and code-based stack, as opposed to like the visual stack that kind of exists at the enterprise today. It's just funny that you mentioned them, because I was just I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
included them on a list of one of the major vendors.
Very cool.
But
Yeah, like I said, I think open source is on fire. And it's interesting, even like with AI, I just, you see all these things now, like, is AI running wild? I'm like, guys, it's too late. This is not the
yeah,
horse before the cart. This is a
It's
damn
out.
Bugatti that went down the street.
Yeah, it's done.
Right? It's not like data. Like, this is a Bugatti that's gone down the road. So all this like government talking about I'm like, crack down what? Where are you gonna catch them?
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I'm just waiting for elections to see all the what do they call it? The human, what's the word for, what's that AI thing where you could take people and just replicate them? There's a word for it, not hologram. The the doubles, right? I can basically take
The
Ryan and
like a
make him talk.
doppelganger?
Yeah.
The
Is that the
doppelganger,
word?
yeah. Like, I mean, just get ready for, I think, elections this year. AI is gonna be wild. We're gonna see some wild stuff, guys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking that recently, like recently leaked tapes that I'm sure lots of people have heard about. Like, I'm thinking, like, in 2 years, are you gonna be able to trust any of that? Like,
No.
because right now you can still tell enough. There are things that will like give away, like, okay, this is real. In 2 years, is that going to be true?
No, I think
No. No.
I think cybersecurity is about to take on a whole new beast.
Yeah. Yeah. Social
Like online security.
Yeah, social, like, because social engineering is the number one way to hack. Essentially, is the helpline.
Correct.
Know, when you can sound exactly like someone, how's that going to pan out? Jeez.
And just
so
type in text.
So what do we? Open source and this AI technology, right? Like, so that's where we think this is headed.
Yeah. So, like, we were talking about Llama being leaked. So, like, unintentionally, like, Meta, Facebook, has become a leader in the open source space. Everyone's using their tech, right? They don't even have to do anything, right? And people are like requantizing to run on smaller GPUs and doing all this crazy stuff with it. Their tech becomes a standard. Like, the primary like subreddit in charge, like, that people talk about large language models. They don't only talk about Llama, but like, it's called local Llama because that's the standard right now, right? Now, and Meta doesn't look like they're going to turn away from that. They're planning on making this commercially available, despite lawmaker inquiries, right? So they have the most supported, rapidly evolving, and they could turn around. I'm not sure what their plans are, but I'm sure they're going to turn around and try to sell it, right?
Yeah.
So, like, have a commercial license that's free for certain use cases. If you're an actual enterprise, it's going to cost you money, or they're going to have a product. Who knows?
I mean, it's really no different. Like, look at DBT, right? DBT has the open source DBT core, and then they've got DBT Cloud as like the product that they sell.
Yeah.
It's really the same as that. It's just the speed at which the development has happened, and it is dwarfs what we see in terms of SQL transformation tools.
Yeah. So I think, like, Meta's going to, like, profit from, like, everyone just doing their stuff.
Yep.
Unless.
So I'm reading on here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, just saying, I'm reading on here as of June 26th, there's at least 37 open source LLMs available right now and growing.
Oh yeah, a lot. I think some of those, a few of those are foundational models, meaning they're not based on Llama or something else. So and a lot of them are based on Llama right now, right? So, I was saying Meta wants it all open so they can, because they're basically the standard right now. Interestingly, OpenAI is urging Congress to regulate. Right. Isn't that funny? All the people who already have existing tools are saying, we can't let people do this stuff. They'll do evil stuff. We need to do evil stuff, not them.
Well, it's interesting because I don't know if you saw this, but like when Meta kind of went out there, there's a quote that I'm reading here. I'd love your reaction. A CTO of a large legacy organization said, "We will absolutely not be using Microsoft's Copilot internally until we understand where the data comes from to avoid being screwed by future US and current European privacy regulations." So my question is, with all this taken off, though, Do you think it's going to be pulled back because people are afraid of what may be coming from a government perspective?
I think that maybe Europe will, the European Union,
Right.
because they as a society seem to have an ability to like do things, and implement changes that affect the entire their entire population.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like America has ability to actually do stuff. So I don't think any regulation is going to pass really in the United States. But I think you might be right. People might be hesitant about.
Well,
Bye, Mico. We lost Mico.
well, but yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting what Mico says about Copilot. Like, I know of an organization that that oh, she's back.
We
There
were
we go.
playing
Hey,
Add to
Mico,
Stream
welcome
Chicken.
back.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. On the
Okay.
audio. Yeah. Sorry.
So, Mico, I was just saying, I know of an organization that that really made that same decision, but they really wrestled with it because it's like there's this conflict, right? The
Correct.
Copilot will make your developers so much more productive that it's like, how can we not use it? But the flip side is exactly what you talked about: privacy and copyright concerns.
Yeah.
What if it's generating code for us and we use
Right.
that code? Are we going to have to rip that code out in a year?
If it turns out it's that some part of that was regurgitated from some
Right.
licensed code, with a
100%.
restrictive license or something, or
Right.
who knows what.
You don't know. Right. You don't know. And
Well,
it's
I mean,
really
and then, well, on the back end, look at what's happening with Reddit, right? We all know ChatGPT kind of fed off of Reddit, and now Reddit is having, I guess the VCs are hunting them down, and they're issuing people crazy bills for using their data. So we have, you know what I mean? I don't know if you guys saw.
Yeah.
Did you guys see what happened with them? Like 8,000 of their subreddits,
try to
right?
change
Like,
the APA pricing, whatever, to
Yeah.
huge.
yeah,
pr-
ChatGPT is worth like $1 billion, and Reddit's worth, how much?
Yeah,
right?
I think
they
part of
got
that is they're
paid.
trying
They
to
got
argue
paid.
how much their stuff is how much their data is worth, so they put a
Yeah.
really big price on it, so they can go and be like, hey, look, we're about to IPO or whatever. Look how much our data is worth. We charge this much, and look at how data is so important. For Reddit, that data already has been scraped to hell. So I don't, there's 10 years of scraped to hell data. So I don't know exactly what they're thinking, but.
Yeah, I think the ship has sailed. They're probably under VC pressure at this point. But I'm like, guys, ChatGPT has taken off. They've sucked up your data. Now they're looking for new data. Like, the ship has sailed. So now they, and then it's funny because one thing a lot of people to me are not talking about is all these AI models need data.
Yeah.
Where the hell is it coming from? Like, it's literally what's happening right now is AI is becoming the beast, and you're gonna have to keep feeding it to learn. And no one's really talking about that part.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Because for years we've been told we have too much data. When social media hit, look how much data people are creating. AI has the potential to not have enough data.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Especially if all these people start walling off their data, like Reddit just did. I'm sure tons of people are about to start.
Yeah, they are, right?
Correct.
I mean,
shutting off the pipe. Shutting off the pipe.
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, from a business perspective, what else can you do, right? Like, what are you going to
Right.
Because you cannot from a business perspective allow OpenAI to become, $100 billion company when and you just gave them it's like the equivalent of like if the oil companies gave the oil to the car companies for free. Here's this free gas. You go build cars.
Yeah.
If I was Reddit, I would send ChatGPT some type of try to go the legal route, even though I'm a buffoon, and say acquire me for some crazy amount, or I'm gonna be like Facebook's co-founders. I'm gonna harass you until I would probably be. You know the Facebook story, right? All his friends have gotten screwed, but he's paid billions and billions. He's like on alimony forever because he stole whatever they said he stole the ideas. But I would be Reddit. I would be that for Reddit. I'd be like, look, you're gonna pay me 100 million every month or something, because like.
Right.
You use my data, or you're gonna acquire me for some stupid amount. I would actually be that person. Sad but true. I was gonna keep you in the news. I'm gonna keep this running. I got burnt.
Yeah, I wonder if any of these big platforms end up partnering with have partnerships or get bought out straight up by some of these big firms doing AI. Yeah.
I would. I mean, because it's a new oil, guys. What did we have? It's like what's happening right now with oil and EV stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
it's to me it's like the same transaction. Like data was the new oil, and now it's time to kind of cash out on those oil fields.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's, yeah. So
Yeah,
like I said, so I think Google's scared, no moat. OpenAI is scared, regulate AI. Open source is going to,
great.
eat their lunch to a degree. Um, but are we stuck with Facebook models, right? It's all llama right now. Will it always be all llama? The answer is no. Like recently, once like MPT 30B released under Apache 2.0. So new foundational model means it's not based on llama. Interestingly, like all of these trained models, they all use outputs from other large language models. So it's kind of it's I don't know, these large language models are like in some way weirdly incestuous in that way. But so new foundational model can run on prosumer hardware, so 3090, 4090. I have a 3090, by the way, a big beefy graphics card. I don't think Ryan has that big of a graphics card.
Oh, come on.
Apache 2.0, so a commercial license. So you can use this commercially, right? But, the llama momentum is still going strong. The first
Right.
available LLM that people were able to train and tune was llama. So like still most of the Reddit posts are still llama, even though these new foundational models that perform similarly are coming out.
Well, did you see the news about Mosaic, Eric?
No.
Yep.
These guys just got acquired by Databricks.
Ah!
Yeah, that's what I
It's
mentioned
happening.
in the beginning
It's a
of the
gold
show.
rush, baby. Oh my gosh.
That's what I opened the show with. That's exactly what I said. I said Databricks.
Oh yeah,
that's
that's
what I was
true.
talking about, Databricks. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, Databricks is
Yeah,
paying
it's
1.3
the gold
billion
rush,
for
guys.
Mosaic.
Oh yeah, I did.
It's
I did read about that. It
it's
just
the gold
I
rush.
I wrote these slides 2 weeks ago, so so before it happened.
Yeah, it's
So-
it's definitely the gold rush, guys.
So any of you are interested in setting up? We're talking about open source, right? But like Mico, you were saying, the community huge. If you're interested in this, go to the subreddit /r/local llama, right? Someone to follow on YouTube, who I follow some of his tutorials, Matthew Berman at Matthew_Berman.
Nice.
He basically posts multiple times a week, so it's moving so fast that like there's a new model every week, and he makes videos about them and how to set them up and like reviews them. So I found him to be super useful for understanding this stuff, right? So that's my argument
Very
for
nice.
why open source is going to win, and some resources
Yep.
if you're interested in looking further.
But again,
Cool.
I also think again that our little data world is changing. I think honestly, those who can get acquired should get acquired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, this
Hey,
is
if you take that bag,
yeah. Exactly.
take the bag.
And this is something, kind of in the vein of AI and data tools. I don't know if you saw Mico Atlin announced their AI tooling. And
Oh, I missed that. Let me go.
yeah,
Look.
so their data,
Did
they're
they do
kind
it
of a
this week at Snowflake?
they announced it last week, but I'm sure they're at Snowflake. They clearly are very well funded because at every conference they have a huge booth and they throw a huge party and they're throwing that money around. But I just wanted to highlight, and for the sake of time, we won't go through all this stuff. But the very interesting thing about Atlin's approach, and this is something that I think will lead into our conversation, is they're looking at. So there's this very obvious kind of BI experience that I think occurs to everybody, which is like, oh, I can go in and ask questions in natural language, and it will build charts, and it will describe the charts, and it will suggest, like a conversational agent in place of the old drag and drop experience, right?
Right.
The Tableau experience. But what Atlin's doing that I think is very interesting, and this is what I'm really thinking about, is like, what tools can we build to actually accelerate data team productivity, right? Not
Right.
just end user query, but like, how can I take a data developer, a data engineer, an analytics engineer, and make them more productive by giving them tools to build and maintain data pipelines, find data, describe data, right? Catalog the data. And so that's kind of, I'm looking for companies that are thinking in the BI space in particular and bigger picture than just, oh, how do I make a really cool chatbot for business users, right? And that's something that Atlin is doing. And so I think that's what's going to separate, in my mind, the winners from the losers going forward, is like, Who has a
Agreed.
big vision that can deliver 10x productivity to a data team and not just,
That's right.
oh, look how great it is at building charts based off of natural
Mm-hmm.
language.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I think chatbots, that's popular right now in every segment. But I
Mhm.
love that they've kind of, I think they what is I looked online really quick. It's called Copilot, right? This thing they're doing.
Yeah, yep.
It's called Copilot. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And it's good to see they're leading the way. I mean, again, funding, right? You know, it's
Yeah.
it's for me, like AI reminds me of data, probably like 8 years ago. Like, who can move the fastest? We're,
Right.
we're literally in a race right now, because the reality is most of what's on this screen will become commoditized in the next 2 years, and every tool
Mhm.
might be able to do it, right? But
Mhm.
how it becomes like, how fast can you mature your models?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
And
It's like
and
who has the bigger model, the better model.
yeah. And how big
Yeah.
is the vision, right? Like if you're
Right.
if you're a company that is planning on using AI to, your special specific brand of AI in order to enhance, in the analytics world, um, i- in order to make analytics products. The question in my mind is like, how
How
big and
big can you think?
transformative is your vision and can you deliver it? I mean, but it's very exciting. Like we're in a
I
place
agree.
where there's a window open to like radical change. I think the
I'm
leading data
ready.
catalog tools, the leading BI tools, the leading ETL tools, all of that is up in the air right now
I agree.
because of AI.
So I don't know if I told you guys, did I mention that I'm an AI junkie?
You haven't mentioned it, but
No.
I know it.
Okay, yeah. So I have a lot of tools I'm paying for. I just saw it on Instagram on the AI Revolution thing, and I need to actually go try them.
Hmm.
Little bit of a junkie, I'm not gonna lie. Everything I think about, whether it's how do I like shower today, what am I gonna eat today,
Yeah.
I just think about AI, and I go in ChatGPT. I'm like, ChatGPT, what am I gonna eat? Like, this is all I have in my fridge, what am I gonna eat?
Yeah.
Chat, like, this is a true story. So I've become a dependent. I have it on all my devices, and I have a ton of AI tools for everything. So I love it. Like, I cannot wait for it to take over some of this mundane, crazy nonsense. The data people, I always said, like, I hope it replaces the data janitor roles,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Cleaning, fixing, adjusting. I'm like, AI should be able to figure this out. Like, I don't
Yeah.
want to do this anymore.
Yeah. Now let's talk
User
about,
user request,
yeah.
all this stuff, right? Prioritizing your Jira box of requests. Like, AI, let's go. Like,
Who can
come
do
on,
all,
Ush,
I mean,
bring it in. Let's get rid of the PMs. Bring it. Well, not PMs. I
Uh,
love you, PMs. Sorry for that.
summarizing meetings. That's fun.
Summarizing meetings, right? Like,
mhm.
I'm ready. I don't know about you guys, but I am ready.
I mean, and I think I've said this on the show
Ooh,
before, but
someone's asked. Yeah.
I cannot wait for a tool an AI that can read my calendar and understands my meeting preferences
Hell
and
yeah.
and
Motion.
can
Motion.
negotiate with your AI
Yeah.
so that we
Motion.
don't have to do it.
I remember like
There is
4 years
one.
ago, you tried one that was like didn't really work.
No, it didn't really work. Miko, we do have
It,
a
it
question
worked.
from someone on LinkedIn wants to know, what are your favorite AI tools?
Where do I start? Hello. Hello, user. All right, so I'm a little bit of junkie. So let's start with what part of my life. Let's skip the personal part. I do it that as well. So first of all, there's a website called aitools.fyi. Let's get to where we're finding this stuff. Very easy to use. And there's another Instagram I live off of called the AI Revolution. So they bring out everything as hot. Okay. So my favorite tools right now, I just use Gamma.app for a presentation, and I'm addicted.
Oh.
That's number one, like addicted. And I tried like Beautiful.ai, etc. I also have been playing with Prequel instead of Profile Picture AI for my profile pictures.
Mhm.
I also have Mind Journey. Everybody has Mind Journey. I need to play with it a bit more. I obviously have ChatGPT. I also have, maybe were they talking about for data? Because I use it for everything.
Yeah, I
But-
mean, I think just in general, I'm curious
okay,
what do you?
Vidoya. So for social media, I use Vidoya. So that allows you with AI to it chops up your videos and gives you small videos. I use WordHero.ai for text. I know everybody likes ChatGPT. I was using Jasper for a while. I'm now testing out Motion. I use Eva before AI. That's one from MIT to try and Otter. But I think now like Zoom has their integrated one. So for me, I have no loyalty. So if I try one and the next one gives me 3 more buttons in 5 minutes, I just press unsubscribe and I go to the next tool. I have
Yeah,
like no loyalty. So I could produce my list, but for data, honestly, I'm not sure as yet. I'm playing with a few tools, but I use AI for everything that I possibly can.
yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, you're way ahead of me. I do use GPT-4 for like
Mm-hmm.
I quit Googling stuff basically. If I know that the answer to my
100%.
question is in the GPT-4 training set, right?
100%.
I quit. I mean, I don't Google anything. I just use ChatGPT.
Especially for coding stuff.
Oh my god, it's unbelievable. But even like I don't know, I had a very in depth, very fruitful conversation with it about personal finance stuff the other day. You know,
Yeah,
like
ChatGPT is legit.
yeah, it helped me
But
optimize, you know, where how much I put in the 401k versus the Roth IRA versus
did you
the.
ask it if it was if it was a fiduciary, Ryan?
I did not ask it if it was a fiduciary.
Oh.
Maybe I should have. Maybe I
So do
should
you
have.
know, you guys might appreciate this conversation. I was talking to one of my good friends the other day. I was in LA and we were crying because we're like, do these kids in school and college realize the opportunity they have?
Oh yeah. Well,
Homework
of
would
course
be
they
a
don't.
Yeah,
distant
of course
path.
not.
Like if I had this in school, I might actually have a PhD. Right?
Yeah.
Like I'm like these kids have been handed like you know what this reminds me of? When I was in college, Napster came out. You guys
Yeah.
remember Napster? And I
Yes.
was like, yo, music.
It
Yeah,
was amazing.
we're stealing it from drives, but like, you know, music, right? I feel like these kids like jump on this. If you are doing homework right now, what the hell's like I don't know if you're intelligent. No, I'm
I
serious.
know. I
Working
mean,
smart.
it is a tool that like I mean, when I went to college, you know, and again, dating ourselves, you know, when I started college, like you were not allowed to use sources you found online in paper.
Yeah,
You
I
like,
Mhm.
remember.
you know, you
Oh,
had to
you
go
I
can
to the
only
remember.
cite
library.
.orgs. You can't cite .coms.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean that's
I
what it
remember
was
that.
like.
I remember that.
I
It's
remember
like,
that.
it's like
And you had
what
to
difference
cite
does that make?
everything. You
Anyone
guys
can make
remember
a .org.
the back page of your English papers where you have to cite every
Hmm.
source?
Hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
like if you forgot a source, your teacher kind of knew because she was well
Yeah.
read or he was well read and they were like, I
Yeah.
think you got this from this book. You're like, oh, I forgot one. Minus
Yeah.
10
Now you can
points.
just have ChatGPT lie about the sources for you.
Yeah.
I agree.
So
I
let's
agree. Yeah.
we've got about 18 minutes left in the show. Let's talk, Mico, about okay. So you are the AI tool guru,
A little bit of a
as
junkie.
far as I know. But
Junkie.
let me ask you, if you're a data analyst in
Yeah.
2023, okay, let's just put on our prognostication hat here. You know, where do you think this is going? How is this going to impact the job of the data analyst who today most of what they do is someone from the business comes to them and says, I need an answer to this question. And then they disappear and write some SQL and build some Tableau or Power BI reports and then give them the answer. What is going to happen to that?
So it's interesting that you asked this question because I literally just relaunched my data storytelling online course. I haven't taught it in a year and a half to
Mhm.
literally get into AI because of this and talk about the skill sets that AI is not able to replace today.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know this, but even today with all this money, the best AI robot still has an EQ of a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
Is anybody aware of that? EQ is just not there, right?
Right.
So kind of taking your question a different route, because you know I'm all about this EQ stuff. I actually think that a lot of the IQ task will be replaceable, but the
Mhm.
EQs won't.
Mm.
And so I think that data analysts coming in, they kind of hide behind, I know Python, I'm a Python chef or a ninja. They hide behind, so I'm kind of mixed here. So I feel like a lot of those type of tasks of like you get asked a question, you need an answer. But again, critical thinking with the next generation and this generation is limited. There's a site called promptbase.ai. Have you guys heard of it?
Mm-mm.
Go to
No.
prompt base. Like I was showing my friend this and he's like, my mind is blown. Prompt base is where people are selling prompts and making bank on it because critical thinking is very scarce right now.
Yeah.
Okay, it's literally thinking for people. So how do you build a prompt base? Because I'm thinking about selling some. Those of us who have critical thinking analysts that can drill ChatGPT down to a good answer, we then go back and re-engineer the questions we have, put it into a single prompt, and get out something. There's a whole website for this. So I'm kind of in between because I feel like sites like prompt-based are blowing up because critical thinking, even though we have a tool to do the thinking, you still have to ask the right question.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think there's a level of maturity where I would say, hey, data analysts, get ready for this evolution. Users can go in and get the right answer. Prompt-based is on fire.
Yeah. And I really I wonder, like, I came up with this analogy. I'm writing a blog post about it right now, but writing is slow going lately. Like, I'm doing some research on when the ATM was created back in the
Right.
70s, and people thought that it was going to destroy bank jobs because
Correct.
all they could imagine,
Such a good analogy.
all they could imagine
No more
was like,
cash tellers. Yeah.
yeah, that's all they could imagine. But actually, more people work in the banking industry now than ever.
Correct.
And it's because the automation of the ability to distribute cash freed banks up to think about what else can we do.
Correct.
And I think if you're a data analyst right now, maybe in some ways you're a data teller, right? And
That's right.
and AI is a data ATM.
I agree 110%. And I also think, again, to your point, I don't think the skill set's going away, but I think the maturity of it is going to change.
Yeah.
I think the expectations are going to change. It's going to be like when Steve Jobs dropped the iPhone. Before the iPhone, our expectations were go to Radio Shack.
Yes.
I need a fax machine. I need a printer. Oh, I need a radio for my music. I need all this stuff. iPhone single-handedly killed Radio Shack.
Yeah.
Just single-handedly, right?
I mean, it was like all their products in one product.
Correct. It was all their products in one product. So do I think it'll be that heavy initially? I don't think so in terms of replacement, but I agree with you that I think data analysts are going to have to not only beef up on the EQ side, right? On trust, motivation, that type of interaction. What banks are doing now, right? The reason you go in to talk to the bank is, I need a mortgage. It's a big purchase. It's my family. My heart's involved, right? You don't go to ATM and do a mortgage. You go online, but someone still says, hey, you filled the application. I'm going to call you about your purchase or about your application, right? So I do think that there's still going to be that lever where data analysts need to prepare for expedition in terms of like code and getting answers, but you still have that human side that's going to take a little bit longer for it to kind of pick up on there. So I do think they're needed, but it needs to evolve really quickly.
Yep. We've got a bunch of great comments coming in here.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. I see the comments. Thanks, Angela, Kim. I see the comments here. Maria. Oh, my ladies are here. Anthony, it's awesome.
Absolutely. They show up for Mico. So, Angela says users need help asking the right question and crafting their question to get the right answer. And users will need help knowing they got the right answer. Absolutely. I think the transaction, right? That's the teller analogy. Hey, here's I need this data. And then you just go and you do the technical work and then you present that data. That's going
dead on arrival. That's dead on arrival.
That is going away.
No, when you get it and you have questions and you start typing and getting answers, is it correct what I have? That's where I think the analyst comes back in.
Yeah.
Right. So I think you'll drill it. Then you go, I got to something and I feel good about it. I need to understand a bit more. That's where I think the analyst comes in. But I even think that's going to disappear in a little while. Yeah. I even think there'll be like I came from being a data scientist where we had a certain level of error that we could have in our data, right? So where people trusted or didn't trust it. And I think that AI will be able to spit that out and say, hey, you could trust it up to this amount. And people will take that number once it's over a threshold and say, this is as good as gold.
Yeah. This is an interesting comment from Kim. She was shocked that the 5-year-olds in her daughter's class no longer have imaginary friends or worlds. I do think it's because we don't allow them to be bored. Now, how does this factor into AI? I think what Kim's point is that interacting with the AI is going to, as she points out here, imagination and social play are precursors to critical thinking and creativity. So, Mico, you were talking about how young people nowadays maybe struggle with this in a way that some more experienced people like you and I
critical thinking
do not.
Some wise elders on this podcast.
And I tell my kids all the time when they tell me they're bored, I say, good, right? Being bored is a skill, and I'm glad you're practicing it.
Go get a stick and start poking a tree with it.
Yes.
The thing is this, right? And I don't mean to get into science, but like their neurons, because they grew up on TikTok and stuff, are just abused, right? They've hit that dopamine button to the point where it's flat. Whereas when the dopamine button is not flat and used out, you get into thinking.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like that's basically it. We didn't have that dopamine button. Go outside and play. We're like, oh well, we got grass and a ball. What
Yeah.
kind of ball do
Right.
we play? We had to think it through. You want to play throw, hit ball, basketball. Like you were like, I just got a ball in a yard. Like,
Right.
right? These kids get online and you could just,
It is
yeah.
it's just a never-ending stream of stimuli, and I think,
Correct.
I
Correct.
actually think this is an interesting analogy, or point I've never really thought of, is like the skills that are gonna be required to interact with AI in the most fruitful way
Yeah.
do require, it is, are we doing a good job of inculcating those skills in young people? I'm not so sure we are.
No, no, we're not.
Um,
We're really not. It's the wild, wild west, and they want instant gratification, right? That's
yeah,
why, again, check out prompt-based.ai, and there's like 3 sites right now that only sell prompts. And basically, when
that's
you
so
look at some,
crazy.
do you know what the top selling prompt on prompt-based.ai is?
No, what is it?
Creating your workout plan with a single prompt and creating a chef's menu.
Yeah,
That's the number one selling on there.
I that's so funny. I
Think
actually
about that.
I used
Think about that.
GPT-4 to build a workout plan, and it did a really good job.
Number one prompt. Anybody want to go check it out after the show? Don't leave right now. It's like I went on there because what was I thinking? Oh my gosh, it's going to be Python code or,
Mhm.
how to learn SQL. Or I was like, wait, a chef menu and a workout plan?
Yeah.
12,000 downloads? Holy guacamole. Like, yeah, people, and we know who's buying that. I mean, right? Like, what age
Mhm.
group's buying that, guys?
Yeah.
So,
Anthony,
yeah,
Anthony has a comment here. How long before companies like Google and Microsoft add the capabilities we've been talking about as features?
absolutely.
Yeah.
I was talking to my friend about this. All these AI tools are features right now. Everybody's taking a little feature and they're automating it, right?
Right.
And I think
Mhm.
you're gonna have like a wipe down that's gonna happen. Like
Yep.
let's talk about BI tools, right? Power BI is on steroids right now with
Yeah.
AI, right?
Yes.
And literally they're like looking at features and Microsoft is like boom, boom, boom. They're kind of ahead of the curve in my opinion in like what they're able to do AI wise. And
Uh-huh.
so I completely agree that these companies, they're gonna look out, see what's being done, look at the category that's rising. That's what I would do, and I just integrate it.
Yeah. Yeah. That is what's going to happen. I mean, and the interesting question to me will be what is going to, we've kind of talked about it, but like I wonder, does somebody, all these sources of information on the internet, do those get bought up by
Sources.
these companies, right? Like, does Microsoft buy Reddit because they want the training data?
Correct.
I mean, does any place where human beings hang out and generate data for the AI, do all those, I guess what I'm asking is the future of the internet 4 or
Just getting
5
data.
big companies that own all of the places where human beings hang out because they
That's
want the
right.
data,
So
right?
here's my thought on this. When you talk about features, I was going to say the only thing that could trigger acquisitions is the fact that companies like the ones I use, Gamma, for instance, with presentation, they probably have their models are insane, right? Their presentation, if they replace PowerPoint, is way ahead of other tools. And it's not
Mhm.
perfect, but I've tried Beautiful AI and all these other ones. They are way ahead of the game. Well, if I'm a Microsoft and I say, hey, PowerPoint needs to level up, hell yeah, I'm gonna pick up Gamma while they're cheap.
Yeah.
I'm not, just give me the model. Like right. So I think the model maturity will trigger not just replacing Anthony, but some acquisitions because some of these companies will be well ahead of the game in terms of usage.
Yeah.
Just a
Yeah.
trained model, you just buy models.
So if you're a data analyst right now and your job is predicated on the fact that like I'm a SQL expert and I'm a Tableau expert and like that's it, right? Like what is your advice for that person?
Dinosaur.
So
Dinosaur.
slowly fossilizing alive is that what you're saying?
Dinosaur. I would
Yeah.
say that you need to start to look at your role as a term in politics.
Mhm.
You have a 2-year term, and if you don't upgrade, you won't be reelected. So I think like, if you're someone that your skill set again requires a ton of manual work, I got to generate some special magic code, and my special magic code or SQL line is gonna, it cuts down all this time. Like that's just over. Like it's just not, you don't require SQL training is what's coming next. Go in ChatGPT, how do I do this? Cut and paste, boom. If that, you might just be able to say, do this. It auto, I think there's a tool that does it right now, right? It auto generates the
Yeah.
code for you, right? You
Yeah,
just, I think
there's
you
quite a
speak it,
few.
right?
Yeah. I mean, there's
Right. You
stuff.
just say it.
It's crazy. I unfortunately I can't tell you what we're working on at Good Data publicly, but
Yeah, but you won't even
there's
need to
some
type
really
it is
cool
where I'm
stuff out
going.
there.
Yeah, so I think if that's your skill set, you really need to, number one, jump into AI, start to upskill yourself, and then you need to start to take a look at, okay, not only how could I maybe start to train my users to replace that
Mhm.
part of my job so that they see value, but what else could I do for them? I would actually take
Yeah.
on the task of learning and training my users, saying, hey, you don't have to come to me every time. I'm going to give you the keys to the kingdom. Why don't you
Yep.
come and find me when you're just trying to see if your stuff is correct? I would jump ahead of it. I wouldn't wait. I would be the expert that they come to where there's trust of like, hey, I don't know, I'm typing in this line and that's not, I don't think it's giving me the right thing. Let me help you correct that. But I think the
Mhm.
skill sets again need to be, how could I take AI and take this to the next level? I
Right.
think we're going to get to the point where people are going to be flexing the best prompt.
Yeah.
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 Does that make sense?
Kim's got a question here. She's curious what we think, automotive, say the auto industry, how might they use AI to generate value from customer data or driving data? She's trying to think
Mm,
beyond tech, right? Beyond,
Yeah.
yes.
um,
Yeah.
how will, like if you're a company, that does a lot of real world stuff, right? And
Mhm.
not virtual stuff, not presentations, not workout plans, not BI tools, but you make a product, that sort of thing. How might they use AI is I guess the question here.
So she's meaning like in the factories in terms of replacement and
Yeah,
robotics, or
or
even
even,
beyond
she
that?
like
Because
she
that's already been
specifically
happening.
she specifically mentions customer data or driving data. I know obviously you've got, say, there's in the auto industry, you've got self-driving cars, right? That's
Correct.
an AI
Autonomous.
thing,
Mhm.
right? But
Yeah, correct.
Drunk driver detection.
yeah,
Didn't that they pass a law earlier this year that like by 2020 whatever, like all new cars have to have drunk driver detection in it or something?
I
Right.
think they did,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, I read that. I'm like, what?
Yep.
Obviously,
Yep. Yep.
obviously it's
Yep.
not going to
Yep.
be breathalyzers, but it's going to be like some like you're swerving too much AI. I don't know.
Well, you kind of get in, and the whole
Mm.
body language should be
Is
different,
is is
right?
is there a camera on?
Yeah.
You're,
I mean, I think the future is first, Kim, that the quality of data being collected, we haven't even scratched the surface on that. So to your
Mhm.
point, I think just getting in the car and wobbling a little bit, that'll all be detected, right? Your motion when you get in the car, how you sit down, your weights a bit. I think all of that it will initially tell the car you're drunk or you're compromised, right? So I
Yep.
first think at the level of data being collected isn't even up to the scale of what it could be. That's number
Mhm.
one. When you get that data, how you use it, I think that's where the devil in the details come in, right? Which is like, well, now the car knows you are drunk every 2 days. So
Right.
does the car
too bad.
then start sending you AA meeting recommendations? Does it take you to an AA meeting? Does
It
it
just
no
drives you there. It's like you.
no, it knows stuff, right? Like, hey, you
Uh-huh.
got problems. Like, I mean, like, hey, and does it start suggesting on the screen that there's a AA meeting happening at 7 p.m. softly?
Yeah.
Man,
Like
The
your
rabbit
car is
hole's
also your
big.
wellness coach.
Right. Oh, you said, or you set a hairy goal. I'm gonna go to the gym 3 times, and you get in the car's like, are we going gym now?
Right. Yeah.
I think we're heading there. Like it's like, hey, are we going to the gym now? Or when or what time are we going to the gym, Eric?
Right.
yeah. I don't ask me. Ask.
Yeah.
We don't even talk to each other. We just show up. It's like, oh, I guess me and Miko are working out.
That's right. You kind of get my point. So I think we're gonna definitely get to the point where it's like I'm gonna tell something my goals, what I want to do, feed it my schedule, and it's like a Jetsons, just gonna show up and
Man,
make sure that I reach where I have to go. So before we go, I had this joke. Somebody put up this cartoon, and I don't know if you guys remember the cartoon for Sylvester where they brought the robotic cat. This is like 20
Yes.
something years ago. Did you see
Yes.
that cartoon online?
Yes.
And they were like, this cartoon was way ahead. And Sylvester's watching the cat like this. He was being replaced.
Yeah.
Like, So anyways, I have one more geeky thing I want to say.
Yes.
Simpsons is freaky, right? Did you guys see that Simpsons had the episode about the Titanic submarine crashing way back in the
No.
day?
Did they?
No.
They had an episode, dude. What friggin' AI are they using?
I don't know.
Like 20 years ago, they have an episode about a submarine going on to Titanic. I mean, it's like I was like, what AI butt is this? Like, anyway, so and anyways, and then one more thing. For those who want to go down the AI rabbit hole,
Yeah.
look at BlackRock's Aladdin.
Okay.
I've been tracking Aladdin for a while. If you want to go down the AI rabbit hole and see what people are afraid of, look up BlackRock Aladdin on YouTube. That's what people are afraid of.
Man, I'm moving into the woods. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah,
Too bad it's all full of ticks now.
right. Lyme disease, right?
Yes.
There's no refuge. There's no
Lyme
refuge.
disease.
All right. Well,
All right.
Mico, thank you so much for coming on the show. We've been trying to get Mico on for a while now, and
This is so much fun.
glad we could finally make it happen. Mico, where can people find you?
So you guys thank you for asking. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm easy to find, Mico Yuk. Actually just micoyuk.com, micoyuk.com has all my links. And I do post stories like all day, every day on Instagram, actually.
Yep.
So you can also find me on IG. I opened up my Instagram. It's closed for like 4 years.
Cool. All right.
Yep.
Well, Mico, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Dolly Brothers.
Uh-huh.
Super
You.
cool.
Yeah, this was a
Bye.
great show.
All right. So, Eric, any final words here?
No, I just anyone who's tuning in, if you like the show, come back next week every Thursday at same time. We've also got a YouTube channel. I'll post that right now.
Yep, drop that in.
Yep, that's our YouTube channel. All of our live streams are there as well. We post content sometimes, not super often. Since we started the show, I've been really doing too much, classic content. But yeah. Thanks for tuning in. I thought it was a really interesting topic. Our thumbnail ended up being a big liar because we didn't talk about that at all.
We didn't talk about being a data influencer.
But I think what we talked about was much more interesting.
Absolutely.
So maybe we should update the thumbnail.
All right. Well, until next week, then, I am Ryan.
And I am Eric.
And we are the Super
Super
Data Brothers.
Data Brothers.
Take care, everybody. Bye.